very interesting moment when Senator Rick Scott was pressed on the quality of Republicans' Senate candidates. Now, keep in mind, this is the guy who is actually the chair of the NRSC, that is the National Republican Senatorial Committee. They are the ones charged with trying to get Republicans into the Senate and win back their majority. Let's listen to what he had to say about those candidates.
In a local radio interview in July, you talked a lot about your business as an executive, and you said we should start electing people that we would hire. In Georgia, Herschel Walker, Republican Senate candidate, has lied about the number of children he has, about his business dealings. His ex-wife said he held a gun to her head and said, "I'm going to blow your effing brains out." In Arizona, the candidate Blake Masters called the Unabomber an underrated thinker. He said that al-Qaeda doesn't actually pose substantial threat to Americans. I mean, I've got a list of candidates here who've had some and said some pretty troubling things. Would you hire these people to work for you?
Well, you'd go through each person, but I'm not the one doing it. It's the voters of those states are doing it. The voters of those states are going to make a choice.
You're trying to help Senate Republicans and lead them to victory. These are your candidates.
So, you know, Margaret, as you remember, the voters in Arizona choose who they're going to vote, and what they're going to choose is they're going to choose between Blake Masters and Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly has voted to keep the border open. He's never voted for border security. He's voted for the tax increases. He's voted for cutting Medicare. You know, he's voted with Chuck Schumer and with Joe Biden basically 100% of the time. Warnock's got the same problem. This election is going to be about Joe Biden. And so this election is going to be about all the bad things that have happened. The fact that we're going into recession, the fact that, you know, inflation's at 9%, the fact that gas prices are up $2, all these things, that's what people are looking at.
But these are your Senate Republican candidates. These are your candidates.
And the voters of each of these states, the voters of these states are going to decide if they're going to hire. Now, I get to vote in Florida, and that's how I think about it. But the voters in those states will choose in those states who they want. And it's a choice between two people. But look, all the Democrat nominees are basically Biden clones.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and by the way, they won't campaign with Biden.
But if you are, I mean, you would acknowledge that if somebody went in for an interview for a private corporation, these things would come up as red flags to HR.
So when asked repeatedly, he will not defend his own candidates. And again, this is the guy who's the chair of the NRSC. That's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, that was weird. I'm just going to say I think Blake Masters is a far better. I don't agree with everything Blake, but I don't think he's comparable in any way
to Herschel Walker,
who is a genuine moron. And like beyond that, personal life, candidate quality, doesn't actually appear to be able to speak a coherent sentence at the national level. Also, basically just nominated because Trump was like, I love this guy and he's famous, and thinks that it validates that theory, even though he has no apparent like political ideology whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he's so all over the map. He does terrible interviews.
That's actually an interesting question of which one. Because Masters has an ideology and it's terrible. So like which one is actually worse?
He's a hell of a lot smarter than Herschel Walker.
Oh, he's definitely smarter. Yeah. I'm just saying,
and
like
a better candidate.
In terms of who would be more damaging? who would you rather have in the Senate? It's not totally clear to me because Masters actually has an ideology that I think is real. I mean, he has a very sort of radical libertarian Peter Thiel ideology. When it's privatized, Social Security, and
it's all over the map.
Access to contraception thing, all of that. Being said, it is amazing to watch Rick Scott refusing to actively defend any of them and actively promote any of them or say that he would hire any of them. Instead, he immediately pivots to like, well, this is going to be about Biden, and these Democratic candidates are all Biden clones. Yeah, okay.
Not wrong about that. But
That wasn't the question, and they are very much hoping that the election is about Biden, is about inflation, and are, you know, likely to be correct about that. But as I've been saying, the more that you zoom into these individual races and individual candidates, the more you're like, y'all have some real problems on your hands here, because it just came out this week. The Trump-backed Michigan Attorney General candidate was allegedly involved in a voting system breach in Michigan. So these are the types of people, and you've had situations plenty of times in the past. We always talk about Todd Aiken, Richard Murdoch, Sharon Angle, Christine O'Donnell, of these candidates that are fringe and outside the mainstream. It's very unusual to have, I mean, in race after race after race, you really have a national movement of these candidates who are outside of the mainstream, both on sort of like Stop the Steal January 6th stuff, but also on abortion, also on gay marriage, and a range of other issues, access to contraception, a range of other issues. So it's a very unusual situation, and one that I can't quite say that we've really seen before.
I've never understood how Rick Scott got elected to anything. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's always just been one of the most, like, first of all, his ideology is as close to like a true con as possible.
Yeah.
Also, even in terms of his business career, there's a lot of questions how exactly he made that $90 million, which is his net worth. I don't get how he was elected governor or senator. I've never truly understood it. And then I don't know why he was put in place of the national effort to elect Republicans whenever his plan to like cut Social Security and to privatize Medicare or whatever then became the central talking point of the Biden administration, which was then repudiated by Mitch McConnell because of how stupid the entire thing was. I mean, in effect, what he just said is he said the quiet part out loud. But I mean, who's dumb enough to actually say that? You're not even supposed to do that. So anyway, I've never understood that. It's not a surprise that he's flailing. And it also does show you these people have no power. You know, the idea that the national Republicans have any power, it's all Trump. Trump gets to select these people. You have nothing to do with it. You're just basically a money doling, a cash machine to whoever Trump picks. So anyway, it's interesting from that point of view too.
Yep, and he has definitely single-handedly Trump handicapped their chances by propping up Oz, Herschel Walker. You know, I don't know that Masters is any better or worse than the other people he was against, but he really separated from the pack after after the Trump endorsement. Even J.D. Vance is not doing well in Ohio. Now I think he'll ultimately win in that state, but he hasn't been fundraising. He hasn't been apparently on the ground doing the work. And some of the polls have Ryan up by a couple percentage points. Again, I think Vance will ultimately win, but it is, at least he had the good sense, Trump, ultimately not to wade in directly for Eric Greitens, because that would have really...
Well, he waded in for Eric, so he was okay with it.
Yes, indeed. All right, guys, we have more for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.